Juniper Mackenzie hugged the tree and peered around its trunk. The dark, furrowed bark of the Douglas fir was rough under her free hand. The branches were thick with blunt, thin-stalked needles an inch long, green and whitish on the underside. Twigs of the same breed had been thrust through the loops that made her war cloak shaggy, turning her into a part of the forest. The strong resin smell of the sap was heavy in her nostrils, and it made sticky spots on her gloves. More needles obscured her vision when she leveled the binoculars, for the branch she stood on was 50 feet up on the pillar-shaped trunk. The column of Protectorate troops shifted as she watched, the spearmen and crossbowmen dismounting from their cycles and quick-stepping forward, spreading out from a thick, marching column to a 4-deep line as they moved. The black and scarlet banner of the lidless eyes swayed from the crossbar as the line came on down the road to her left, edging out into the fields to overlap the knot of Mackenzies waiting where the road ran between the two hills. That would put them in a broad, shallow V. This forest on the east. The western flank, low hills covered in thick scrub you couldn't move through without hacking a pathway. Her stomach nodded. Those were her friends and neighbors and clansfolk waiting on the road to lure the Protector's men forward. And leading them was Nigel Loring. It made sense. He had his suit of plate armor, and he was an experienced commander. But she still didn't like any of it. On the other side of the tree, Sam Aylward was watching as well. "Taking the bait," he said quietly, his deep, slow voice calm. "At least the first bite of it. Impatient bugger, whoever's in charge. Good thing Hilaire and Astra drew Renfrew off. Now things get lively." That was a curiously antiseptic way of talking about people dying, but every trade had its jargon. "And it's a business I'm in, like it or not," she reminded herself. "I'd better get down and help things along," Aylward said stolidly. "Remember, lady, only if they send in the Lancers. Otherwise, we'll all just sod off on our bicycles." "Yes, teacher," Juniper said, and gave the older man a smile. Then more seriously, "Merry meet, and merry part." "And merry meet again," he replied, giving her a thumbs up. Then he reached out for the rope that was fastened to a branch above their heads, took an expert half-hitch around his blocky, armored torso, and slid swiftly downwards, landing as lightly as a man stepping out of his own home. Even knowing who was where, she was a little surprised when 3 figures rose and followed him, trotting silently between the great trees. That was reassuring. If she couldn't see them, it was unlikely their foemen could. She looked back out over the open field. The Lancers were in a single block 100 strong now, waiting. A flashing ripple above their heads as the honed steel moved and caught the sun. The Protectorate foot soldiers double-timed forward,